You are watching. Pause. We pause for a second or two. How do we keep life coherent when so much is changing? This is episode 240. Pausing when caught a cold. In today's episode, you might be able to hear in my voice, as well as see in my expression and overall appearance, that I have caught slight of a cold. And we will take the opportunity to talk about today what pausing is like when we have caught a cold. I think many of us, if not all of us, feel that when we catch a cold and maybe have to lie down, maybe have to stay at home, maybe have to rest more than we want to, it can be quite difficult to just accept that kind of situation. It can be quite difficult to just pause, to just be with ourselves when feeling under the weather, when being, having to lie down, having to rest, having to stay at home can be difficult. The emotional skill that we're talking about today is our core skill, pause. It is our core skill because it is at the heart of everything we do. Pausing is the name of this show. Pausing is the connection, the communication between the different parts of our life. Pausing is the foundation upon which we may build many things. And pausing both feels somewhat different, but also feels somewhat the same in different kind of situations. And today we're talking about pausing when caught a cold. So maybe first off, catching a cold often takes us by surprise. Of course, sometimes we act recklessly and spend time outside in the cold rain for a whole day, and then we can sort of count on catching a cold. But sometimes, at other times, like now for me, it somehow catches us by surprise. So we might have all these kinds of plans, all these kinds of routines that are interrupted by this cold. So to pause when caught a cold, maybe first is about that there are perhaps many things in our schedule, in our plans, that we can no longer do, or at least cannot do during this cold. We have to cancel things. So it is difficult accepting our situation. It is difficult accepting lying down, staying at home, resting, pausing in that kind of situation, because we do not want to let go of our plans. We start thinking when pausing, when catching a cold, we start thinking about all the things where we lag behind because of these plans being cancelled. And we can feel stress about that. Perhaps the work we were supposed to be doing during that cancelled time, we now have to make up for after we are well again. So we do not look forward really to getting well, because we know that now we have to make up for the lost time, work maybe twice as hard. And that's tough to just accept straight away. Many people do not accept catching a cold. Perhaps take some painkillers or something to just go to work anyway, because they feel like they don't have the luxury of just staying at home resting. They cannot make up for that time later on. They have to just work regardless of catching a cold or not. So many people even reject having a cold, reject pausing at all with a cold. On account of workload or different reasons that one cannot be away from work, cannot be away from what one is supposed to do. So for those people, pausing when catching a cold feels just like an insult, like rubbing salt in a wound. Not something to do at all. And then we can move on to another aspect of it, the resting part. Okay, say that we have caught a cold like I have now. And we know that what we need to do in order to get well again is to rest. But it is not pleasant to rest when we have not chosen ourselves the timing of the rest. Perhaps we had plans to do something fun, to do something worthwhile, something meaningful or important. And then all of a sudden, no, change of plans, caught a cold, have to rest. Then resting will not feel like our own choice. So resting becomes charged as something negative. It is difficult to pause when having caught a cold. Another part of it is that when we have caught a cold, as you can see me now, I'm not feeling very strong. And my body is weak. My eyes are watering somewhat. My voice is a bit weak. My thinking is a little slow, a little dull. It's a bit heavy breathing. Joints are aching. Muscles feel heavy. In a bad way, heavy. So it's not very fun to pause when we have got a cold, because we do not feel powerful. We feel weak. We feel vulnerable. We feel maybe even exposed. And that makes our guard go up. It makes us want to protect ourselves. We might become prickly, or easily offended, or easily irritated, because we feel like we are not strong enough to defend ourselves. Often it's not very fun to pause when having caught a cold. And our desire for predictability, or even safety, becomes far greater when we have caught a cold. We need things to be more predictable. So we need more structure when feeling under the weather. And then it can depend on how prolonged the period of time is of being sick. Having a cold for a day or two maybe is not the end of the world. maybe most of us can manage. But then if it drags on 3, 4, 5 days, a week, 2 weeks, maybe even longer, depending on situation, then we're dealing with a somewhat different situation, pausing with a prolonged cold or sickness. Then we're looking at once the sort of cold reaches further than half a week, further than 3-4 days, then we're looking at sort of getting used to a new way of life almost. Pausing with a long cold. Then we need to spend time with our expectations of life. And that is perhaps too big a subject for the ending of this episode. And then if we have a shorter cold, like maybe a week, 2 weeks tops, then afterwards we have actually spent time with ourselves. We have spent time with our thoughts. We have spent time with our thoughts about ourselves, our life. And often it is a good thing, having spent that time with ourselves, even when we were surprised by the cold in the first place. Maybe we did not choose to rest, but we got the time by ourselves. We got some rest, and it's not nothing. There are things to take away with us from pausing when caught a cold. There are interesting things there for sure. That's it for today. Thank you.